Multiple volcanoes across the Philippines are erupting in chaos, not from magma, but from twin super typhoons unleashing simultaneous lahars. Two Category 4 storms, just 6 days apart, turned volcanic mountains into rivers of destruction, a disaster never recorded in history. Scientists are alarmed, but the true chain reaction is only beginning. Typhoon Calmegi formed over the warm Pacific and struck eastern Samar on November 3, 2025, driving sustained winds of 148 kilometers per hour straight into the heart of the Bicol region. Meteorologists at Pagasa tracked the storm's eye as it swept west, unleashing sheets of rain across already unstable volcanic slopes. In just 36 hours, rainfall gauges near Mayon and Canlaon recorded totals that would normally take weeks to accumulate. Rivers swelled, and the ground reached full saturation, yet the worst was still to come. 6 days later, Super Typhoon Wong barreled toward Luzon, intensifying over sea surface temperatures above 29 degrees Celsius. On November 9, 2025, Wong made landfall in Aurora Province, packing winds of 215 kilometers per hour and gusts up to 230. Its rain bands stretched hundreds of kilometers, overlapping the very same regions battered by Calmegi. Doppler radar and satellite composites from Pagasa and NOAA revealed a rare meteorological collision. Two Category 4 storms, less than a week apart, drenching the same volcanic catchments from Bicol to central Luzon. Hydrologists and weather scientists watched as rainfall totals soared past 400 millimeters in some valleys. The interval between storms was too short for the land to recover. Soil moisture and river levels stayed dangerously high. Official statements from both Pagasa and FIVOLCS described the sequence as unlike anything in recorded meteorological history. The stage was set for catastrophic runoff, with saturated volcanic deposits now primed for disaster. The relentless rain had done what magma could not. It turned entire mountainsides unstable, triggering a chain reaction that no forecast model had ever captured. Lahar is a word that sends a chill through anyone living near a volcano in the Philippines. It means a river of liquid concrete, ash, pumice, and rock, swept downhill by water, moving with the speed and force of a flash flood. Scientists at PHYVOLCS have spent years studying what makes these flows so deadly. The answer lies in the physics of volcanic ash. Each grain is a shard of glass, jagged and fine, packing together with almost no friction when soaked. When rain pours onto fresh deposits, the ash absorbs water like a sponge, but once saturated, the whole mass liquefies. On slopes as steep as Mayon, about 30 degrees, gravity does the rest. What seems solid one moment becomes a churning torrent the next. Seismic sensors around Mayon and Canlaon picked up something unusual as the storms passed. Instead of the sharp jolts of earthquakes, the monitors recorded a steady, low-frequency vibration, a trembling that never stopped. One PHIVOLCS volcanologist described it as the sound of entire mountainsides moving at once. This was not magma forcing its way to the surface. It was the signal of millions of tons of ash and debris breaking loose, sliding downhill, and swallowing everything in their path. This is not lava. It is something worse. The flows unleashed by the twin typhoons were driven entirely by water, not by fire from below. That makes them almost impossible to predict with traditional volcanic warning systems. In the chaos, scientists realized they were watching a new kind of disaster unfold, one where rain alone could turn a sleeping volcano into a deadly river. Mud and stone surged through the streets of Daraga and Calmegi, swallowing entire neighborhoods before dawn. Families huddled on rooftops as the roar of lahar drowned out every other sound. Emergency radio crackled with desperate calls. Roads gone, bridges swept away, no way in or out. Pilots from the Philippine Air Force flew blind through clouds of ash and dust, relying on instruments alone to reach isolated barangays. Captain Jaime Lopez, flying a Bell 412, described the scene as flying through a gray void, unsure if the ground below was even solid anymore. Survivors pulled from the debris spoke of a world transformed overnight. The smell of sulfur and wet concrete, the sound like a freight train, remembered one woman from Albay, her house buried up to the eaves. In the first 48 hours, official tallies listed 105 roads and 46 bridges rendered impassable. Rescue teams struggled to deliver food and water, forced to reroute again and again as new flows cut off access. Fields that once grew rice and coconut now lay under meters of ash and cement. The Department of Agriculture counted at least 142 million pesos in lost crops, but the true scale of destruction was still unfolding. Helicopters hovered over what looked like a moonscape, villages erased, riverbeds replaced by broad gray scars. For thousands, the only warning came from the sky, not the earth. The disaster's reach extended far beyond the volcanoes themselves, as the very routes meant for rescue became rivers of stone. In June 1991, Mount Pinatubo exploded with a force that reshaped the landscape of central Luzon. The eruption itself was catastrophic, but what followed in the years after proved just as deadly. Each rainy season, the ash and pumice left behind became fuel for a new kind of disaster. Heavy monsoon rains and typhoons swept across the volcano's flanks, turning loose deposits into surging lahars that buried towns and farmland again and again. Angeles City, once a bustling economic center, found its streets and markets entombed beneath meters of gray mud. Entire neighborhoods vanished, not in a single moment, but slowly, over months and years, as each storm revived the threat. Hazard studies from the decade after the eruption document the relentless cycle. Lahar flows remobilized with every downpour, stretching the disaster into a 10-year ordeal. For families who survived the initial blast, the true hardship came later. Homes rebuilt only to be swallowed once more, fields cleared and planted only to disappear under a fresh layer of cement-like sludge. Oral histories from survivors tell of a life lived in constant fear of the next storm, the next wave of mud. Disaster managers learned that the danger from Pinatubo did not end with the eruption. The volcano's shadow lingered, reshaping disaster policy and community memory. Now, with multiple volcanoes exposed to the same relentless rainfall, experts warn that the Pinatubo cycle could repeat on a far larger scale. As one historian put it, the last time it lasted 10 years. This time, no one knows how long the danger will remain. The situation is unprecedented, and the consequences could stretch for years. Aerial surveys reveal a landscape transformed beyond recognition. Entire valleys around Mayon and Canlaon now lie beneath a hardened crust of volcanic debris, stretching for kilometers in every direction. What once were rice paddies and coconut groves now resemble the surface of another planet, gray, cracked, and lifeless. Engineers on the ground report that this lahar cement sets like stone, making even basic rescue and rebuilding efforts nearly impossible. In some barangays, the only option left is to discuss permanent relocation, as the ground itself is no longer stable enough for homes or roads. Scientists reviewing the damage call it unprecedented in scale and complexity. Each fresh rainfall threatens to set off new flows, and with so much of the region buried under this moonscape, the debate over where and how communities can safely rebuild has taken on new urgency. Disaster planners now face a threat that refuses to fade. Sea surface temperatures across the western Pacific remain above 29 degrees Celsius, sustaining a heat reservoir that can spawn new typhoons well beyond the usual end of the season. Meteorological bulletins from Pagasa and NOAA warn that as long as these waters stay hot, the window for powerful storms remains open. Each new cyclone, even a moderate one, can reawaken buried lahar flows, sending fresh waves of mud and volcanic debris through already devastated valleys. Yet official volcanic alert levels remain unchanged. They focus on magma, not rain. This monitoring gap leaves communities exposed, with no clear warning system for rainfall-driven disasters. The risk is not theoretical. It is measured in degrees, days, and the silent movement of unstable ground. Right now, whole provinces stand on unstable ground, where even a single storm can redraw the map overnight. With Pacific Sea temperatures still above 29 degrees Celsius, the next disaster could be only days away. In the Philippines, the future isn't just unpredictable, it's still moving under our feet.